Coming up tonight on the News at 5, getting a vaccine for COVID-19 is only half of the solution. We'll take a look at the plans for how one will be distributed once it's created. Plus, Helena's Friendship Center has seen an increase in people needing their services since the pandemic began. What they are doing to bring more attention to the sensitive topic of domestic and sexual abuse.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the News at 5. I'm Andy Curtis. Thank you for joining us. Well, the state set another record of new COVID-19 cases today, shattering the previous record by 81 cases, now totaling 429. The state also announced another death, this person from Sweetgrass County. There are nearly 3,900 active cases. More than 9,400 people are considered recovered, though. And approving a COVID-19 vaccine is only half of the battle. Health experts next must determine how to distribute and who gets it. Sarah Dolph has the story.
The race is on to develop a coronavirus vaccine and distribute it ethically and efficiently. In Massachusetts, the bulk of Acme Dry Ice's business is from vaccine manufacturers.
We've gotten calls as far as California, Seattle, Chicago, Texas.
Several of the leading vaccine contenders must be stored at sub-zero temperatures. UPS building freezer farms. Hospitals and states asked to plan now.
This is definitely probably the most daunting task that we've had to undertake.
The first doses will likely be limited, possibly covering as little as 5% of the country's population.
The first round or two or three of vaccination won't be sufficient to achieve that level of population immunity.
A CDC advisory group is recommending those initial doses go to healthcare workers and high-risk groups, expanding to others as more doses are manufactured and possibly more vaccines approved.
There are different platforms to deliver the same technology, essentially. So I fully agree that if a vaccine works, we'll likely have multiple vaccines.
All Americans likely will have access to these new weapons in the fight against COVID within a year to a year and a half of their approval. Each phase in the process complex and critical. Sarah Dolph, NBC News.
Now with a look at our forecast, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. A little in the way of some smoke and haze is blown back into the state. It's not as bad as it was a couple of weeks ago, but it's noticeable, and part of that grayness in the sky is also some cloud cover. So you may be wondering, as we look at East Glacier, what fantastic color out there right now. Not a lot of wind recently to blow the leaves off of the trees, but probably wondering, how bad is the air quality? Well, it's this bad. Really not that bad. The only spot in the state, Seeley Lake, looking at moderate air quality. Everybody else still pretty clean because that smoke is up high. It's in the upper levels of the atmosphere, 15, 20, 25,000 feet here. Happy October to you all, and there is no October anytime soon. Warm temperatures will continue, and it's all because of this high pressure that is leaving us dry as well. I'll have more in the full forecast coming up.
Helena's Friendship Center has seen an increase in people needing services since the pandemic began, and they're currently raising funds to help the victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And they want to bring the conversation surrounding those sensitive topics into the light. MTN's John Riley has more.
Domestic violence is an epidemic in Montana and the country at large. According to the Department of Justice, last year someone in Montana reported being beaten, abused, or strangled by a partner or family member every 2.5 hours. Staff at the Friendship Center say the pandemic has only amplified the issue.
Unfortunately, isolation is a large part of how abusers maintain control over their victims, and the pandemic has just exacerbated the isolation that people are experiencing. We're seeing an escalation in the violence that people are experiencing in their homes, and violence is escalating more rapidly than ever.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. For the occasion, the Friendship Center has launched their Face the Violence fundraising campaign, and they are encouraging people to talk openly about the subject. The Friendship Center served more than 600 people last year and is the only shelter of its kind in Lewis and Clark, Jefferson, and Broadwater counties.
It's important for people to have a safe outlet to reach out to in which they are treated with dignity and respect.
If you or someone you know is in a violent situation, know that help is available. The Friendship Center offers a 24-hour hotline. Advocates can help victims and survivors find the support they need and get to a safe place. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
This story is part of the Rebound Montana stories that aim to connect people to the help they might need during this pandemic. Now, the Friendship Center staff are able to provide emergency shelter for families in need regardless of gender, connect individuals with law enforcement, and help with legal assistance and counseling. To find more Rebound stories and resources, head on over to KTVH.com. Now, the Great Falls Development Authority secured more than $500,000 to be put back into businesses across the Golden Triangle. GFDA is getting $657,000 from the Community Development Financial Institution Fund. Now, this fund from the U.S. Department of Treasury provides loans for communities across the country to grow business. It's the 6th year GFDA has received money from the fund. It can be used to fill in funding gaps for new or expanding businesses if the bank isn't able to provide all that's needed.
One of the nice things about this money is that it has fewer restrictions than some of our other loan funds that we have. So we can do a greater a variety of projects.
Now, in the past, CDFI money has been used for nonprofit loans as well as apartment construction. Anyone starting, expanding, or modernizing a business or nonprofit is welcome to reach out to GFDA for assistance through these funds. And as hospitals, including Benefice and Great Falls, deal with the drastic rise in coronavirus cases across the state, one local restaurant is challenging businesses to help out. Tracy's Family Diner delivered meals to employees in Benefice ICU today and hopes other businesses will make similar efforts. The restaurant donated meals to the hospital at the beginning of the pandemic when the hospital first became overwhelmed, but felt like it was time for another donation.
It seems like now we're getting that point again where the numbers are picking up. The amount of duration and stress on Benefice and the healthcare associates themselves has become more significant over the last month. So we really wanted to take an opportunity right now just to thank them.
The restaurant will be delivering food tomorrow to the emergency room and possibly other parts of the clinic. And when we come back, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz will have a complete check of your forecast. And later in the governor's race, how do the candidates plan to address health care and what their record has been in the past? We'll break it all down for you when we come back.
STORMTRACKER weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Not the prettiest of days, certainly not as pretty as the last couple of days, but not that bad out there either. Yes, a little wildfire smoke from California and Idaho is blown overhead, pretty far overhead. It's not really affecting the air quality down here at the surface just yet. Looking at a live shot in Helena, yeah, a little grayish, hazy skies out there. Current number 69 degrees. The wind is calm. Great Falls also a little hazy skies there, 73 degrees. And remember last year we were still in that snowy cold pattern here. A record low of 9 degrees 1 year ago today. 60s and 70s for the most part, couple of 50s out in the eastern part of the state. There was a cooler air mass that spilled into the state last night into the early morning hours, and it affected eastern Montana a little bit more here. Yeah, I know you're probably looking at some of those showers off towards the north. Those showers will not really produce anything here in Montana anytime soon. We've got all the wet weather back here into the eastern part of the country. But the smoke, the haze, it moved back in here, and that's because the high pressure that was giving us the really nice weather is shifting a bit, and that is allowing more in the way of a southwest and westerly flow to direct some of that smoke from California wildfires back up here into Montana. And there still is a boatload of smoke down there into Northern California. And there you can see that smoke, a little higher concentration of that smoke in the western part of the state here. Tonight, we will have a little minor front that will go through, and look at this as we go through Friday, improving conditions as far as sky conditions, and then into Saturday, we should be back to beautiful blue sky for the most part. However, we get into Sunday, a little more of a southwesterly flow, and we may have some haze coming back into the state here before another minor front goes through and pushes that smoke down towards the south here. Now, precipitation-wise, nothing to speak of. There may be a couple of showers tomorrow way out in eastern Montana, but it's not going to fill up your rain gauges very much. Getting into Saturday, mostly sunny. Sunday should be a sunny day. Monday, another minor little front, a couple of showers into eastern Montana. Again, we're talking a few drops. That's about it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, dry days ahead of us here. Here's the forecast for tonight. Partly cloudy, a little hazy, not as cool, not as frosty as it was last night into this morning, but still a little on the cool side here for the first night of October. Don't forget, we've had that full harvest moon that will be out there as well. And here's the forecast for tomorrow. Temperatures in the 60s and the 70s, and I do believe that the sky conditions will improve with some of that smoke moving down off towards the south. Here's the 7-day forecast for Helena. 72 tomorrow and cleaner skies this weekend. Really nice, 75 on Saturday. Some smoke and haze likely returning on Sunday before it departs Monday and Tuesday. And some smoke could come back Wednesday of next week. The 80s could come back Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And as long as we've got those wildfires burning into California, anytime that wind turns to the southwest for a day or two, it could direct some of that smoke back up into our skies. Sunday, some smoky skies around Great Falls and a lot of the state as well. Then again on Wednesday, otherwise very dry. And watch that fire danger, please.
This week in our coverage of the race for Montana's governor, MTN News has been taking a closer look at the differences between the two leading candidates on the economy, education, and health care. Republican Congressman Greg Gianforte and Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney are both vying to become Montana's next governor. Today, in the final segment of this three-part series, MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison examines how the candidates plan to address health care and what their record has been in the past.
Greg Gianforte says he has three goals in healthcare: maintaining coverage for people with pre-existing health conditions, preserving rural access to care, and reducing overall costs. On that last one, Gianforte says he'd push for more generic prescription drugs, more price transparency in healthcare, and an end to surprise billing.
This is cross-provider billing that can really tip families over getting an unexpected bill. This should end. Just because the insurance company and the hospital can't agree on the price doesn't mean they should dump the load on the patient.
He also says he wants to keep Medicaid expansion, the public program that provides health coverage to almost 90,000 low-income Montanans. But he says he wants to scrutinize its eligibility process. Yet Democrat Mike Cooney, whose administration helped pass Medicaid expansion, says Gianforte is talking out both sides of his mouth. He notes that Gianforte supports repealing the Affordable Care Act, the federal law that created Medicaid expansion and the protections for people with pre-existing conditions.
And if we don't fight to keep that, we're really not doing the job for the people of Montana. And let me tell you, people like Greg Gianforte, if he wants to tear down the ACA and if he wants to do away with Medicaid expansion, he's going to have to go through me to do that, because we're going to fight like heck to make sure Montanans don't lose that.
Gianforte maintains the ACA hasn't reduced costs and says if the U.S. Supreme Court strikes it down next year, as it could, he'd find a way to deal with it as governor. Elsewhere on the healthcare front, Gianforte also wants to tackle mental health and drug abuse, the latter of which he says has increased violent crime and placed more and more kids in foster care in Montana. He says he'd focus on rehabilitation rather than prison for nonviolent substance abusers, such as drug treatment courts.
I've attended a number of the graduations. We've personally helped fund 2 treatment courts to get started. And here's the beautiful thing. Not only do we help people become all they're meant to be by getting back on their feet, getting clean, and getting a job, we also keep them out of the prison system.
Cooney says again that Medicaid expansion has been key in covering mental health and addiction treatment for people who previously couldn't afford it. He also says Republicans in Congress, like Gianforte, have done little to reduce drug costs. Cooney says as governor, he intends to enact a federally endorsed program that would allow Montanans to buy cheaper drugs from Canada.
Right now, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, we could cross the Canadian border, go to one of their pharmacies, and we could buy a little bottle of insulin. Let's just use that as an example. That little bottle of insulin in the United States costs about $290 to $300. Up in Canada, you can get it for about 30 bucks.
As you can see, so much of what can be done about health care goes back to the federal government. So the candidates for governor often end up debating where they stand on federal health care legislation. Still, they do have their different approaches. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And speaking of debates, MTN News on Saturday will host the first one-on-one debate between Mr. Cooney and Mr. Gianforte, starting at 6 p.m. on MTN stations across the state. And you can also watch the debate live on our streaming apps like Roku and Apple TV, or on demand on our website, KTVH.com. And coming up next on the news at 5, for 6 years now, one young Montana man has been working with his dad on their family farm to make sure others can enjoy the traditions of fall while helping a good cause.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. For 6 years now, one young Montana man has been working with his dad on their family farm to make sure others can enjoy the traditions of fall, all while helping a good cause. Tonight, MTN's Tim McGonigal takes us northwest of Vaughan to learn more about Jordan's Pumpkins for a Cause.
About 14 miles northwest of Vaughan, it's early autumn, and 22-year-old Jordan Schrader and his dad are busy on the family farm preparing hundreds of pumpkins for distribution. For the CMR graduate and Special Olympics athlete, it's a way of saying thanks to the surrounding communities that have given so much to him.
We were motivated to do this to kind of give back, to return to some of the folks that have helped us out and helped Jordan out.
Now in its 6th year, Jordan's Pumpkins for a Cause continues the tradition of spending a Saturday afternoon giving out free pumpkins for a donation. Each year, money raised helps a different nonprofit. Last year, they raised $4,400 for Eagle Mount. This year, proceeds benefit the Great Falls Rescue Mission.
We're always looking for new and innovative ways to get the word out of what we do at the rescue mission and to raise some money, and no thing is too big or too small, and it's that time of year when people start thinking pumpkins.
Like previous years, pumpkin recipients can pick their own pumpkin from a patch on the farm. For those with COVID-19 concerns, they can still enjoy the experience without leaving their car.
We'll have an area set up for that with some pumpkins on some bales and some volunteers, and you can kind of point out what you'd like, and some people will, volunteers will load those into your vehicles for you. You don't have to get out.
Now, in addition to picking the perfect pumpkins, people who come out on Saturday can enjoy hay rides and popcorn, all while social distancing. In Vaughan, Tim McGonigal, MTN News.
That event goes from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Saturday, and we have more information on the details up on our website, ktvh.com. And we'll be right back after this.
When we welcome our West Coast viewers, the Midwest COVID surge, more than 24 states with cases on the rise, some hospitals at capacity, and then the heartbreaking loss. John Legend and his wife Chrissy Teigen are sharing with the world that hits home for so many. When we see you tonight on Nightly News.
News leader, you're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back, everybody. The Montana Conservation Corps received a $50,000 grant from the National Park Foundation. Montana Conservation Corps officials say the money will help support one of their indigenous programs. And thanks for spending some time with us tonight. You can catch us back here at 6 and always online at ktvh.com. Have a great rest of your evening.